Oops, we did it again should be Sony's slogan for this phone here, as barely have 6 months passed since the Z2 introduction and now we're getting a successor. This is Daniel from PhoneArena introducing the Sony Xperia Z3. It upgrades only slightly on the Z2, but exactly where it counts, its screen brightness and processing power now rival or surpass those of the direct competitors, while its pretty unibody glass chassis is made even thinner, still keeping the high waterproof rating. Granted, the phone is not as future-proof as, say, the Note 4, which has a Snapdragon 805 processor and a Quad HD display, but it doesn't have to be. Its main rivals will still be the spring crop of flagships like the Galaxy S5 or the HTC One M8. Let's see how it stacks up. The Z3's dimensions are actually the biggest change from the Z2, at least on the surface, as the phone is slightly shorter, narrower and much slimmer than the Z2. Still, the Z3 remains rather tall for its 5.2-inch screen diagonal, but less wide, so the phone's one-handed operability is decent, unlike its pocket friendliness. The omni-balanced design language for the Xperia series here is stuffed in a very sleek, tempered metal and glass unibody. In fact, with its tapered edges and rounded corners, the Xperia Z3 is the most comfortable Xperia flagship we've held so far. The white version we have doesn't stain with any visible fingerprints, but we'd wager to say that the darker variations might have issues in that regard, considering the all-glass back. The only design gripe is that the metal power lock key is again with a bit shallow feedback and feels wobbly under your finger. The volume rocker is also thinner than what's comfortable to feel and press without looking. On top of that chassis premiumness, the Xperia Z3 sports a higher waterproof rating than, say, the Galaxy S5, allowing it to last more than an hour in up to 5 feet deep in water. Furthermore, Sony provides 2 stereo speakers at the front, something you don't see every day, especially in waterproof handsets. To ensure the waterproofing of the microSD port on the left and the microSD and nano SIM slots on the right, Sony covered them with protective flaps painted in the color of the metal rim surrounding the sides. Unlike the Z2 flaps, however, these are pretty easy to pry open and then close again firmly. The screen remains a 5.2-inch 1080p tri-luminous display, but Sony is now touting its ability to hit 600 nits of peak brightness. We can confirm this is indeed the case, which ensures great outdoor visibility, as the screen reflection coating does a good job too. The phone's screen biggest drawback is color presentation though. Our measurements show that the Xperia Z3 is off the reference white mark by default, and significantly at that, showing very cold colors. Moreover, the greens and reds are somewhat oversaturated, and all colors are widely off the reference marks for the standard RGB color gamut. Viewing angles are decent compared to some previous Xperias, though contrast and color shift a bit more than what we've observed with the best IPS LCD displays. The screen has a super sensitive mode that allows you to operate it with gloves on, should someone ring you while on the ski lift. Running Android 4.4 KitKat, the Sony Xperia Z3 sports the Xperia user interface, which tends to be rather clean and minimalistic. You can double tap to wake the screen, so you don't have to constantly be looking for the smallish and wobbly power key to unlock the display anymore. The otherwise standard looking main menu has an options panel that can be revealed at any time by doing a swipe gesture from the left edge of the screen. The panel lets you change the sorting or filtering of your app catalog, as well as to initiate the uninstall mode. The execution of this options panel is not perfect though, as you can accidentally reveal it while browsing through the menu. Furthermore, Sony supplies its small app suite, evoked with the current apps button, which pins windowed calculator, browser, notes and other apps on top of anything else you're running underneath, for some rudimentary multitasking on the big screen. You can now run 5 of those at a time and can freely resize or move their windows around for added convenience. Last but not least, we have built-in screen recording functionality out of the box, chosen with a simple long press of the power key. There you can pick from 1080p or HD video recording, and the phone will make a video from whatever you're doing on the display. The Xperia Z3 is yet another phone that's powered by Qualcomm technology. In this case, it is the quad-core Snapdragon 801 AC processor, which is the fastest in this family and is clocked at 2.5 GHz. In fact, this is the same processor that is ticking in the Galaxy S5, so the Z3 is slightly more powerful than its predecessor. Overall, performance seems to be great, both around the interface and within apps, including 3D games. There isn't any occasional choppiness like the one in the Galaxy S5, but there's always just a small amount of lag that prevents the experience from having the instantaneous response that comes with the iPhone line or the MIUI Android overlay, for instance. Memory-wise, there are generous 3GB of RAM, which is still the highest number Android hits at the moment, while the onboard storage is 16GB in the basic version, of which just about 12 are user available. Thankfully, there's a microSD card slot which allows you to greatly expand the phone's storage space by installing a memory card of up to 128GB. Chrome is the browser of choice for the Sony Xperia Z3, and it tends to perform lovely. As always, loading is super fast, while navigation around pages, including scrolling and zooming, is very fluid and trouble-free. The browser was recently updated with a new interface and souped-up performance, and we're definitely pleased with the overall browsing experience when using Google's Chrome for Android. Still, there are some viable third-party alternatives in the Play Store, which can display Flash content as long as you sideload the latest version of Adobe's now discontinued Flash player for Android. LTE is supported across numerous bands, so as long as your carrier of choice offers 4G, the Z3 should deliver blazing fast cellular data speeds. In the unfortunate case of having no access to LTE, the phone will default to 42 megabits per second HSPA+. For completing its full set of connectivity options, the handset is also the proud owner of support for all the latest Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, DUNA and MHO protocols, and it also has NFC. Whether you want to mirror your phone's display on a bigger screen, beam content, or quickly pair it with a Bluetooth accessory, the Xperia Z3 has you covered. The picture and video galleries present the user with a pleasant experience. The apps have a fresh and consumer-centric design, which is typical Sony, though they don't skip on the editing options, which are built right into the gallery's interface. The Walkman music player is quite cool and full with eye candy too. It sports some interesting features like Clear Audio Plus and some other sound-enhancing tools like XLoud, as well as a regular equalizer with many presets, including a custom option. The phone includes Sony's digital sound enhancement engine. This technology is in the Z3 series for the first time and allows it to upscale tracks that aren't in high-res quality. It is like analyzing and enhancing the file's frequency range, reducing noise and distortion. Of course, the results aren't as if the file wasn't heavily compressed at all, but there is an audible difference with low-quality tracks. The Sony Xperia Z3 comes with front-facing stereo speakers, but the tones coming out are pretty decent, having some nice depth to them, but these aren't very powerful speakers, which could be expected given that they're waterproof ones. With the large 5.2-inch IPS display, the images, video and games look really gorgeous. The video player supports all the popular formats, and even if you manage to find a video that is not playable with a stock player, you should be able to fix this by downloading a capable third-party one from the Play Store. At first brush, Sony's newest flagship sports the same 20-megapixel camera like the Z2, but Sony touts that the kit now has a new G-Lens optics and other improvements under the hood, such as boasting up to 12,800 ISO sensitivity. The Xperia Z3 camera records a shot and is ready for another almost instantaneously for a fraction of a second. Since there is a two-stage shutter key on the right, you can also set it to fire the camera up and take a picture from a locked screen, which takes about a second or two. The Sony Xperia Z3 camera user interface is mostly easy to use, especially when you're sticking with the superior auto mode, which attempts to automatically pick the best setting for you and tends to be pretty accurate most of the time. Sony has also included a manual mode, which allows you to shoot HDR photos and videos and tweak a variety of different settings on your own. It also lets you take 20-megapixel photos if you happen to need this. We were frankly surprised to see how natural the color representation of images taken with this phone is. Sony usually boosts the color saturation and contrast a bit or a lot, resulting in flashy hues, which are not representing the scene in front of the lens in a completely credible manner. With this phone here, however, Sony tweaked the photos with a what you see is what you get approach, producing natural colors. The automatic white balance measurements are valid for most every shot too, leaving no weird overcasts in the scene. Last but not least, the phone is able to grab a fine amount of detail. Indoors, color presentation stays mostly natural, the images become a tad softer than they should be, and noise rears its ugly head, though not to a glaringly visible level. The Audi Flash did a decent job at illuminating a small scene in a fairly even manner, without casting weird shadows or changing the color significantly. The 1080p video recording with the phone can be done with either 30 frames per second or even higher at 60. It is pretty good too, with very natural colors, right amount of detail and quick exposure adjustments while panning around. Here we have to say some nice words for the software image stabilization tech of Sony called Steady Shot, which is on by default while shooting 1080p footage at 30 frames per second, and is so good it can trick you that the phone has an optically stabilized camera. There's also 4K video recording on board, which looks great with the many details it captures, but will heat up the phone and eat up your storage pretty fast. At first read, one might scoff at the seemingly modest Xperia Z3 upgrades against its Z2 predecessor. The Z3 has a better battery life, thinner chassis, faster processor, brighter display, and better photo and audio quality than the Z2, while keeping everything else great intact. These might not seem significant upgrades each on its own, but the cumulative effect is pretty powerful. The only gripe we have with the phone has to do with Sony's signature thick top and bottom bezels here, which make it largish for the screen size. Yet we're willing to let those slide for the waterproof certification, the front stereo speakers you're getting, and above all for the amazing battery life of the Sony Xperia Z3. The main competitors like the Galaxy S5, the HTC One M8 or the LG G3 don't have much more to offer than the Xperia Z3, yet they're now coming about $100 cheaper, so it's a personal choice. This was a video review of the Sony Xperia Z3 from PhoneArena. For more information about this and other handsets, you can visit us at PhoneArena.com. Thanks for watching.